morality is not dictated by a deity. It's developed from empathy, dependence, and love. My morality accepts everybody's sexuality, is more concerned with inequality and the validations from above. My morality is not set into stone tablets.
Hi everybody, my name is Seth Andrews and I host a website called The Thinking Atheist, and I'm here with a room full of friends here at Rziha Fest in Lawrence, Kansas. And I just finished my speech, and I've got that post-speech euphoria going on. Thanks for letting me be a part of the party, Amanda, by the way. It was really something.
You're very welcome.
Everybody's awesome. Everybody's been so good to us. And so anyway, I walked back in the room, and of course there's this party of infidels back here and so I want to welcome you to the Nones podcast. Of course, we're talking about the nones, the non-religious, the people who don't claim a religious affiliation. By the way, that number's growing every single freaking day, and it's amazing. And so I have to hit the road. I've got to go home to my own family, but it was my honor and privilege to introduce our hosts, Lilandra and Shayrah, who are going to come in here and be a part of the show today. And I'm leaving it in better hands. So come on.
This is our first episode of The Nones. We wanted to give a voice to the non-religious in the United States. We're a growing segment. We're right now at about 20%, and we're largely ignored by our government representatives, even though we're a large part of the population. And we wanted to focus on giving women in the non-religious movement a voice too. My name is Lilandra, and
I'm Shayrah.
And I'm an atheist. And Shayrah is also...
Yeah, basically what we want to try to do is we want to try to talk about a segment of our country that is not being heard, even though they're a pretty big chunk of the percentage of people. There's a lot of things that are going on in politics. There's a lot of things that are going on in our communities, in our personal lives, where we are disenfranchised or we are getting our rights taken away. We want to cover that. We also want to cover a lot of things that are going on with women, which is why we have the play on words with the nuns. There's a lot of women in this community, a lot of activists, a lot of performers, a lot of amazing women, and they don't seem to be known. People don't know that they're here. There's not as many of them that are speaking in conventions. There's not as many of them that have blogs. There's not as many of them that have podcasts, and we want to get them to have a voice and a place to show what they're working on. And that's why today we're going to have as guests Amanda Brown and Michaelyn Eberhard, and they are going to talk about this convention that they're actually put together, the Rziha Fest here in Kansas. We're in Kansas. Shelly, you can come on in. We also have Shelly Siegel here, and she's going to be performing some music in a wee bit. If you want to be able to hear, you can. She's going to be performing some music in a little bit. But basically what the two girls did is they put together this awesome convention. We had Seth Andrews, a Thinking Atheist here. We had Nate Phelps, David Fitzgerald, JT Eberhard. Who else is here?
Matt Dillahunty. There was a really interesting panel discussion with JT Eberhard yesterday with a representative of the Muslim faith, the Christian faith, and the Jewish faith, and the Hindu faith as well. Yes, and my feeling from watching the panel discussion was I would give the Jewish panelist a pass because he said he was a Reform Jew, but the other panelists, except for the Muslim panelists, were trying to play both sides of the field to me. They were trying to say that no, they don't think it's right to abuse gays like their sacred texts say to, and they were trying to, it was evasive, and what was your thoughts about it?
It was obvious that they didn't know how to answer things to atheists about what morality is, because they were basically saying their texts will go against what we all know is morally incorrect. And you could tell that they knew it was morally incorrect because they're basically, when they were trying to word it a different way so the atheists wouldn't get pissed off. What are you doing, mime guy?
You
He's
were
very
loud.
distracting to me.
Back off.
I cannot put it further away. I would be standing like this, so it's not going to work. But basically, what he did was he knew that he had to word it differently so it wouldn't sound bad, and that tells me right there that he knows that it's immoral. But that's besides the point. There's some awesome people here. We had Greta Christina. There's Keith Little Jensen. We were supposed to see a performance from Shelley, but there was some technical difficulties on the stage, so you can perform here. And are you going to do stuff today?
Yeah, I'll be playing later today.
So, make up for it there. This is Shelley WSegal. You go ahead and say something.
Hello, hi. I'm also here because Amanda Brown and Michaelyn brought me here. I play music about atheism and humanism. To talk a little bit about my story from being Jewish to becoming an atheist and involved in secular activism.
Yeah. We actually... Can you hear me like this, Daniel?
Without holding the mic, can you hear her?
Okay. Basically, what was really cool is when we were back here yesterday, we had a conversation with Amanda and Shelley. Who else was in here with us? Lilandra and I. But what was really cool is we were sitting around talking about activism and all the things that are going on in our country. And it was just, this is what we're going to try to do. I know that this is all jumbled and messed up for this show because of technical difficulties, but I'm hoping to have Shelley on. She knows a lot about what's going on, and you have a really good heart. You really care about a lot of things, so I'm hoping to get you on the show and talk about that kind of stuff. But, I mean, we were almost getting each other into tears.
Yeah.
Talking about some of the stuff that's going on, especially with Amanda and her father. But... Anyway, there's awesome people that are here at University of Kansas. I wanted to name off more other people. Teresa McBain. Is she going to be speaking?
She already spoke.
We had a Christian speaker, was the first speaker yesterday morning. Fred, I've forgotten his name, but he had a t-shirt that said, Jesus for Atheists. And we had some interesting discussions.
That's awesome.
How did he justify that? How is Jesus for atheists?
Well, I think he's just kind of accepting that there's different ways to approach morality, and that he thinks that atheists are not, worse people or less moral people. And I appreciate that, and I appreciate him coming to talk to us. I felt like it got a little bit preachy towards the end.
Yeah, I heard Matt was talking, and he wants to have a debate with him now about that, because he's confused at being for Jesus. But, the Jews did this too. They had the Jews for Jesus thing. A lot of people dig him as a character. And I think it's because Jesus was such a nice guy to certain people, to help them with their medical things. But I don't think people really read all of the texts of what Jesus did. He said he brought the sword. He didn't come to bring peace. And he talked about how there's going to be judgment on people in a very violent way. And when we were listening to the panel with the Hindu, he said that what we should be striving for is not being violent towards one another. And any kind of idea of hurting or harming anyone would be considered a form of violence. I like that way of thinking. I don't agree with there being a God or an afterlife, or that we're reincarnated, so I'm obviously not Hindu, but I like the idea of not trying to be violent towards anybody.
I think part of what he said with the reincarnation is not moral, because he said that if they had this question about whether a couple had the female, a married couple, and the woman was sterile, and he said that in the Hindu belief system, if you have a sterile married couple, that you just accept that life, and that's the way it is, because you know that you'll be reincarnated into another one. And I think that people should be doing things to have better lives in this life, because I don't believe that you have another life. And
yeah, there's a lot of problems that can pop up with that mindset. I'm not saying a lot of people who are Hindu think this way, but what can happen is if you have a child who has problems, you might say that they might have done something wrong in their life, and that is actually something that they have said. And there are many people who will treat them differently, as if they are bad, as if they deserved it, and I think that is absolutely disgusting and horrible. So there are huge problems that can pop up with these kinds of ways of thinking when you're thinking of afterlives or when you're thinking of reincarnation.
And I see a parallel in a way with the Christian doctrine of original sin, that, you know, we have this inherent sin that we need to repent for, that we are guilty, that we're born guilty, and that when something bad happens to us, it's because we deserve it, not out of the accidental way that the universe works.
Which is why I think looking at things in a natural way is actually better, because it shows how it happened, and then there's no feelings of guilt and anger towards other people, that they deserve it. And that, I think, is what makes us more moral. I think that's what makes the nuns more moral, is because we look at what is actually evidence and what causes things, instead of trying to lay guilt on everybody for what they did wrong.
Or consult an ancient text about what people thought was moral thousands of years ago.
Yeah.
I think non-believers can have a more natural morality based on what hurts other people or themselves. I mean, I think that morality is biological, because we're social animals, and
yeah.
I don't think that you need to consult what somebody said thousands of years ago to figure out whether something is moral or not.
And it's open to change, it's open to growth, so the more that we know and the more our understanding grows, we can adjust our morality and adapt it to make it superior. Like, you know, previous generations thought that different races were different types of humans, and like we should have known anyway. It's easy to say that, but like, you know, we have a deeper understanding of humanity, and that's been able to help us expand our empathy and to being more inclusive. And even now, you know, we're working towards marriage equality and equal rights for homosexuals. That's something that to us is obvious based on our natural inbuilt empathy, but if you're looking at a text that's from 2,000 years ago, that's going to come into conflict. And it was amazing yesterday, actually, in the panel, to watch people be so shameless about that, and it was like they weren't embarrassed. They were just like, yep, this is what it says, and this is what we're going to do, despite how we feel inside about it. And like you said, how they obviously knew, they had that dissonance that there's something not right.
The Muslim panelist actually said that atheists can't really have a morality when it comes to sexuality, and even homosexuality. He said, where would you stop? Would you start having sex with children? And it doesn't follow. And to coming from a person who believes in a prophet that married a 9-year-old girl, it was astounding.
Didn't even think of that at the time.
Yeah, I think what he was trying to say was that if you're trying to have sex for pleasure, that's bad, and if you're trying to have sex to procreate, that's good. But I don't comprehend that. Why, if God exists, why would God make it so pleasurable then? Is he just trying to mess with us? Is he trying to test us by making it feel good? Or is it possibly a better explanation that we evolved to be able to enjoy it so that we procreate?
And even if that was God's plan, that he would make us this way and then force us to go against our natural urges that he made. I mean, even if that objective morality that they are describing, although separately, was true, that still wouldn't be my morality. I wouldn't respect that. I don't care if that was God's objective morality. That's not, I mean, morality should be about how people are with other people. It's about our interaction. That's how it's evolved.
Yeah, I mean, empathy is, I think, where a lot of morality comes from. JT's giving a talk today, and he talks about is ought. He talks about why we do the things that we do, and he talks about happiness is generally what is the motivating force for us to do stuff. But he also has an interesting way of looking at it. You know, it might feel good to steal someone's stereo because then you have a new stereo. But the way we work, because we have, you know, mirror neurons, because we care about how other people think when we watch television and when we watch movies and someone's getting killed or someone's being raped or something horrible's happening, and then we feel empathy for them and we dislike it. And we do that in our everyday lives. We want to be able to interact with everybody and get along with everybody because that makes us feel good. And that's really what makes us happy. The stereo wouldn't make us as happy as having a friend and being able to hang out with other people and them being able to trust us and us being able to trust them. And so that's where our morality comes from. That's where we derive our morality, is being happy and interacting with other people.
And that's what JT was saying too, that selfish people are not on average happier than people who have moral systems on how they treat other people or themselves, because people are social animals again. So that's part of what makes us happy is our social interactions.
You have anything to say?
Oh, I have a song about morality.
Yes,
Actually.
you do.
Oh, did you want to sing it?
Yeah, I can play it.
Yeah, we'll have Aaron get.
I felt like when we were having that conversation, I'm like, this would be a good time.
This would be a good time to break down to song. Hello, kids.
Thanks.
Amanda Brown is still going to be on later. She's introducing Greta Christina right now.
Yeah, and we're gonna talk to them about a lot of things, actually.
Yes.
We have a lot of topics to talk about. I think we're gonna talk about. Well, actually, let's see how we can make her sound good.
Okay.
Let her test out her guitar. But we're gonna talk to Amanda about the event, and we're gonna talk to her about her father, who was attacked in a hospital for trying to be with his partner, to be by his husband's side. And we're going to talk to her a little bit about a charity that she's running for the Boston bombing that happened. So, and I think we're going to have a game show with her and Michaelyn.
Will you give us the thumbs up if she sounded good?
When she's playing, can you give us a thumbs up when she sounds good? You can't even hear me talking right now?
Maybe if we...
I felt the guitar. I can't hear the guitar.
Okay. Thank you.
So there's like
Okay,
7
see if
second
we can
delay,
hear,
so I'll
hear you singing.
I got it.
Feel so far from where I've been. Got my eggs and my pancakes too. Get on my lips. Sweet. Sound check? That's the easy sound check.
Okay.
Cool. So this is my song about morality. Why I think we have a pretty nice one. A pretty easy to rationalize one. It's called My Morality. My morality is nothing to do with the Bible or the verses of the Quran. My morality won't judge you by your spirituality, but by the things that you have done. My morality is not set into stone tablets. But don't even tell you not to hurt children. My morality is not dictated by a deity. It's developed from empathy, dependence, and love. My morality accepts everybody's sexuality, is more concerned with inequality and the validations from above. My morality set into stone tablets. Don't even tell you it's worthwhile to be good, for being good on the sake, but not to think for yourself can be a deadly mistake. Morality is not recitable from memory, it's something inside of me. How I wanna be, treat others how I want them to treat me. Basically not to hurt anybody or cause any brutality. Stems from a common humanity. That's what my mother taught to me. And it's mine because I'm free.
I love it.
That's awesome.
That is awesome.
What made you decide that you didn't believe in religious dogma?
It's a long
Oh, it's a long story.
a long story, but a lot of things. I guess the first thing that kind of made me realize that the Bible wasn't, like the biblical account of creation was not true, was learning about evolution in high school. That was quite late, really about 16. And it still didn't stop me believing, but it just kind of made me sit down and go, wow. And that was the first time I was really awed by a fact about the natural world. Like, I had feelings, like you're at the nature and you feel quite moved by it. But this was the first time that I learned a piece of information about the natural world and had that response just from information, and it was amazing. I just sat there totally floored in my chair, and then just a slow process of questioning, I guess. I remember like one big final kind of punch was when I was traveling, and I was 19, I was in Southeast Asia. I was in Cambodia, and I remember seeing there's so many people in the streets just really struggling and have no food and no support, and I went to this temple, this beautiful temple, and it's like just decked out so I don't know, really over the top with lots of jewels and statues and flowers and food. And then you see in front of these statues these plates of food and money and bunches of money, and I hope that it was going to the poor, but I don't think it was. I think it's an offering, and it's just such a backward thing. It's like these people mean so well, but they're giving food to a statue instead of a starving child out the front of the temple. And it was just like a bit of a wake-up call to actually what we're talking about, that if you have this objective morality that's set in stone and unable to change when you have access to new information, or unable to be updated and improved, then it's going to be misfiring. You're going to be making a mistake.
Yep. I remember working in a Thai restaurant, and we would present food and water and wine to a picture frame, the king. And there was a really funny moment that happened, actually. They would do it because I don't pray to their king, but a bunch of the people that do it were not there at work one day. A bunch of them got sick, so they were like, okay, let the white girl do it,
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I don't know how to do this stuff. And they're like, just set it up there and just say a little prayer. I'm like, okay, I know this is important to everybody. They don't want to start the day in the restaurant without someone doing that. So I went to put it up there, and I back away and I do a little prayer, and immediately the wine glass falls and breaks, and they're like, oh my gosh, never let her do that again. She's cursed us. So
Rejected your offering.
yeah, I got my offering rejected by the king, apparently, in their minds. They were very superstitious. The Thai people are very, very superstitious about a lot of things. They don't let you sweep debris into another room or outside of a building. I mean, there was all these interesting cultural things. And I think this was something that was brought up in the panel, where there's a lot of things that are cultural that people equate with a religion, but I honestly think it is a cultural thing. As far as like the caste system is concerned with Hinduism, yeah? I understand what he was trying to say there. That is part of their country and their culture. But it's hard to eliminate those kinds of hurtful things from your culture if your religion backs it in some way.
It's very hard to separate. They're so intertwined. I mean, religion is part of culture, and so much of what would have been part of the culture at the time that the religion was codified or the books were written down, like, that's become law, even if it wasn't, part of the initial goals of the writers. It's kind of impossible to separate.
Yeah.
And they kind of have it both ways too. When they make a moral argument, they act like they have a morality trademarked because their morality is endorsed by their God. So they've got absolute morality. And then they also condemn people who aren't the same, who don't worship the same God, and they condemn people who, like us, who are non-religious, because we're godless and we don't have a God. This even happens in Western countries. A number of people were saying after the Boston Marathon bombings that it was because we were pushing God out of the public square, and this was a godless act. Yeah. And as we're starting to find out, the suspects, part of the reason why they did this, it was a judgment on Americans, and
based on their ideas of morality, that we drink and that we go after what makes us feel good. And I've never understood being angry about people doing stuff that makes them feel good. If you're not harming anybody else and you're happy, why is that so negative? It's that Simpsons joke where the nun is like, if you're happy and you know it, that's a sin. Like, no. I think we should be striving to be happy and to get along with one another and to accept that others are not exactly like us. I don't know why everybody feels like we need to have replicas of ourselves everywhere. That's quite egotistical. And I think that's what makes it so disgusting when they do it, is that it's a huge amount of ego on their part and trying to dictate to others to be like them and to think like them. I don't drink, therefore you shouldn't drink. I don't understand that. I don't smoke marijuana myself. I don't like it. But I have a lot of friends that do, and I don't judge them for doing that just because I don't do it or I don't like it. And I think that's super important, that people understand the difference between themselves and other human beings.
Yes, I read the older suspect said that he wasn't friends with any Americans because he didn't understand the lack of self-control. Probably for issues like you're saying, like we drink alcohol or we allow women to, in our society, publicly dress however they want to, and but yet he lacked the self-control not to murder innocent people,
including an 8-year-old little boy.
Right. So
I don't see what that 8-year-old little boy had anything to do with the fact that he might dislike how a woman dresses, or the fact that some people go out and party occasionally. I don't comprehend how those two things are equated with one another. And he didn't teach anybody anything. Nobody's going out and saying, hey, maybe we should dress more conservatively and maybe we should stop drinking. No, people are saying that's disgusting, what he does is disgusting, what he thinks is disgusting. So he's not even helping his own viewpoint along. If you have a viewpoint on something, you can go out and talk about it. You can write a blog, or you can try to communicate with other people. That's how humanity acts. This old school idea of blowing people up and killing people for thinking differently, that does not do anything but stifle their voice, but it doesn't change their minds.